But we're going to check this video out here. Woke activist cries transphobia over Florida banning changing biological sex on driver's license. Let's watch this.
I feel like I'm in a playground and bullies are just beating me upside the head.
Oh,
You're not wanted. You're not worth it. You're no good. I feel like I live in a state that if I'm not in mainstream, I should go away altogether.
The only thing that this period of Florida history will be remembered for is the trail of body bags left behind as they've left working class and regular Floridians poor and without any assistance for the real issues that we are facing.
I had to look my 13-year-old in the face the other day when they looked at me and asked, "Why does Florida hate me? Please protect my child. Their blood could be on your hands."
These bills are not just a threat to the rights and dignity of transgenders, Floridians, but they're also a fear-based attack that perpetuates discrimination and violence.
All right, guys, so in this episode of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World, we have to go out to Florida, a place that's trying their best not to become Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World. And every time they try not to do that, they upset a whole lot of people, right? A whole lot of the woke revolutionaries, the progressive activists, get upset. They start boohoo, whining, and crying hate and bigotry because Florida is trying to do something that is common sense, right? And that's what's happening here with this news story, a story that we got to talk about involving Florida making
Why do these people always go to the 10th degree? I can't stand when someone always go to the very rare, most extremist view or outcome of anything. He talking about blood on hand, body bag, and all this type of stuff. With that, it just don't happen. But they're so focused on buzzwords and shock value. Just the simple truth would be good enough, or would it?
policy changes that require that somebody's sex on their driver's license correspond with their sex at birth. Okay, they can't just put their gender identity on their driver's license. And you would think that this would be common sense, that, you know, you would put things on your driver's license that are immutable, biological, and genetic, right? Like, these are things that you can't really change. Okay, you would think that it would make sense for you to put those things on your driver's license, but apparently not, right? Apparently there are people who believe that it is dangerous and hateful because you're not allowing people to just simply state that they are a man or a woman on a driver's license, even though they aren't biologically a man or a woman. So I want to talk about it, but before we get into it, I want to play this news clip so you guys get a better understanding of what is going on here. However, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, BioTrust. If the appearance of wrinkles, fine lines, and other satisfaction guarantee.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ginger Gadsden.
Glad you're with us. I'm Matt Austin. Under the rule, anyone who the state decides is misrepresenting their gender could be sentenced to prison. News 6's Troy Campbell has the story new at 11.
Move. Go to another
A new
state.
policy issued in a memo Friday directing state employees to require new documentation not previously required in order to allow someone to change their sex listed on their Florida driver's license.
Trans people make up just 1.6% of the national population, yet remain a singular focus of the state legislature.
Last Monday, the state legislature heard arguments over HB 1639, which includes the documentation change.
Now that there are changing definitions in different people's minds, we want something that is clearly understood, that is tied to a scientific standard of birth sex.
Facts. I mean, I don't see what's wrong with this, okay? Because ultimately, it just creates less confusion, okay? I mean, the reason why we have these characteristics on our license is to help properly identify individuals, okay? And, you know, if we're gonna be in the business of changing these types of characteristics on your license, your sex, your gender, whatever, then why can't I change my height? Okay, I should be able to say that I'm 6'5". Okay, I'm 6'5", and also I am much younger. Okay, maybe I should be able to change those things as well too, right? So again, if you can change your sex, why can't you change your age or your height or any of these other characteristics that are on your license as a means of helping people identify who you are. You see how far we can go with this? Okay, if you give in a little bit, that opens up the door to a lot more things that people should be able to change on some of their original documents, right? Like their birth documents and things like that, if that's the type of game that we're trying to play. I actually think that I don't care how people identify, right? I don't care what you in your head think that you are. That's fine. You have the right to believe that. But I do think that your original documents, okay, should document your sex that you were born with at birth, and that document cannot be changed. You cannot change that. We have to have some original document showing what you were originally, okay? And I think that that makes sense in a decent society, right? A society that's based in reality. Now, in regards to how you want to, you know, be referred to, hey, that's up to you. Okay, it doesn't mean that everybody needs to abide by it and to go along with it.
Right.
But I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to at least ask and say, hey, I want to identify as X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to your birth documents, okay, and identification documents, we need to know who you are, like who you actually are originally, biologically, okay? This is the type of stuff we need to know. These are characteristics that you can't change.
For the change, someone simply had to check male or female on the application form. However, now they have to show their birth certificate, a passport, or an immigration form.
The passport is a federal document, and they have the procedure there. We have to, it will be a procedural measure, an administrative procedural measure to deal with that within our own approach, our own forms, and how we address that.
Opponents of the change, including Orlando State Representative Ron Escamani, say the policy would single out people who are transgender if their physical presence doesn't match the sex listed on their Florida driver's license. Members of the transgender community told the bill's sponsors what it meant to them once their license reflected their self-identity.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the point, right? That's the point. I think that it is important for people to know that, okay, this person looks like a woman, but on their driver's license, which should have their biological sex, okay, this is a man, right? That's super important, right? It's very important for people to know that, okay? Now, again, in terms of how you want to carry yourself, that's fine. But I think it's important for the rest of society to know that, okay, this is how this person wants to be identified as, but this is what they actually are biologically. That's super important, okay? Because once you start to get into the realm of people being able to change all of their birth documents, now you get to the point where you're gonna have these people that don't feel like they need to tell individuals that they're trans, right? And that opens up a whole nother can of worms where people actually really do believe, no, I am a female, even though female is a term that refers to sex. Once you start to do that, then they'll say, well, there's no need for me to tell people that I'm trans, right? So I'm gonna go out on dates, okay, with guys that are heterosexual that are looking for, you know, natural born women, and, you know, they're gonna think it's okay not to tell them. Again, you're gonna open up a whole nother can of worms. It's gonna just get more and more and more confusing, and you gotta nip it in the bud in any way that you can. It's unfortunate that Florida has to take this measure, but it's better to nip it in the bud now before it becomes a bigger problem, because it most certainly will. Again, could you?
So I think these people are bent on confusion because they're confused. They don't know. They think they can just change whatever they feel from minute to minute, day to day, hour to hour. Not understanding that feelings are temporary. You can feel great, then in the next hour you're not feeling so good. You can feel like a man, which this part is ridiculous to me. And then in the next 15 minutes you can feel like a woman. I can't process that at all. I don't want to process that way of thinking at all. But feelings, don't go off your feelings.
Imagine if 10 to 20 or 30% of the population starts identifying as trans, the type of confusion that would cause, right? By allowing people to just willy-nilly change up their birth documents or their identification documents to correspond with their gender, right?
You know, this summer I got my name changed officially. And part of, after that, follow-up was getting a driver's license. And I can tell you that from a personal experience with a transgender woman, that was a pretty huge moment.
Now, although this legislation is still working its way through the state house, the policy goes into effect immediately. According to the memo sent to the state tax collectors, anyone who misrepresents their gender could be charged with fraud. Under state statutes, fraud is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Troy Campbell, getting results, News 6.
Yeah, you shouldn't be misrepresenting your sex, your biological sex, okay? I mean, you know, I know some people think, oh, this is terrible. You could throw people in prison, but, you know, hey, it is what it is, right? We have to maintain some level of organization in society around this issue that makes sense for everybody, okay? We can't just capitulate to the 1% and change up everything for everybody, and it just doesn't make sense. So, with that being said, again, you got people that are boohoo whine and crowd about it, including TYT. Let's see what they got to say about this.
Oh, boy.
And the policy really doesn't benefit anyone. I just feel like it's ridiculous, gratuitous, and causes a lot of harm and a lot of heartache and a lot of instability in the lives of people who just want to live their lives without this nonsense.
Yeah, I think that can be said for both sides, right? I'm just keeping it 100. I think that can be said for literally both sides. So, with that being said, Anna Kasparian, who, you know, recently has had somewhat of an awakening, but she's still showing you that she's woke, right? On issues like this, she's still showing you that, hey, you know, I know that the far left attacks me because I'm not on board with the farthest left of their agenda, okay? But I'm still woke, right? I'm still woke.
And, yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Jake.
So look, I think this is one of the scarier stories in a while. And I want to tell you all the ramifications here because political prisoners can start soon. Wow. And so, but before that, I just want to let you know, we want to cover the story more in depth. We know people in Florida who are trans, who are thinking of leaving the state, and we'd love to go cover it. If you guys want to chip in to make that possible, go to tyt.com/Florida. And then obviously we'll put that report up on our YouTube channel and everywhere else that we do the show, tyt.com/Florida, to help us do that video.
Why don't they leave?
Now, let me tell you why this is so scary. So first of all, you've got the Republicans in Florida saying, big government is awesome and it should tell you who you are. It should tell you what to feel. It should tell you what gender you are. And big government doesn't care what you think or your stupid freedom.
Okay. Yeah, so I hate when progressives do this, okay? I hate when they do this because they try to equate conservatism with libertarianism when there are overlaps, specifically when it comes to the economy, but when it comes to social issues, that's where there's less overlap and there are major differences, okay? Conservatives are not libertarians, okay? And ultimately, at the end of the day, conservatives do believe in government intervention. That doesn't mean that conservatives believe in big government like progressives believe in big government, but we do believe in a government that does try to, at the very least, legislate morality to a certain extent, right? Now, not completely. I don't think that it makes sense to try to do it completely, okay? I do think that there's room for libertarianism. I mean, that's where the libertarian in me kind of comes in, where I think particularly when it comes for adults, the government should kind of, you know, stay away, right? Let adults be adults to a certain extent. But when it comes to kids, yeah, no, you need the government to step in and protect children. I mean, that's generally how I think about it. But regardless, when it comes to this issue right here, yeah, I think that it's a basic function of the government. And I don't even think libertarians are going to buy into Chank's argument here that it is somehow big government for the government to say, hey, on your identifying documents, we need you to list your biological sex, okay? We're not just gonna let you arbitrarily choose what you wanna be. No, we need to know your sex. I don't think that that is big government. I think that that is basic government, right? Basic government is different from big government, okay? A government that keeps an orderly society based off reality and common sense is not big government, okay? I don't think that the government should just be allowing people to willy-nilly choose what they want to put on their identifying documents. I'm not sure why this is so controversial. I really don't. I don't know why. Why do these people think that trans people should be able to just change all of their documents so that nobody can ever know that they were trans, right? I don't think that makes sense, okay? I think that results in a lot of unintended consequences, and Cenk is going to bring up one of the main ones here in a minute.
These are right-wingers. They love to talk about freedom, but the minute anyone doesn't agree with them, they want to take their freedom away. So that's a giant problem, okay? But the second problem is much bigger. So
so Cenk thinks you should have the freedom to lie on your government documents, right? This is what Cenk thinks. He thinks that freedom extends to being able to lie on government documents. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
At some point, a cop pulls over a person who's trans, and they decide that they have the wrong gender on their driver's license. They can arrest them for fraud. Fraud is a felony.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I mean, I think that there are consequences even greater than that. And I think that there's good reason why it should be a crime to lie on government documents like that, especially your personal identification documents. Because let's say that cop takes the trans individual to jail for a DUI. Okay, if they take the person to jail and based off their driver's license that has been allowed to be changed based off the gender identity of the individual, and you end up throwing somebody in jail that is a biological male with a biological woman or with biological women, that creates problems. That creates issues. And again, this is why it's important for these identifying documents to have genetic and immutable characteristics on the document so that you don't end up in these types of situations. Because if you just allow people to change all of their stuff, then you're gonna have biological men and women be thrown in jail together. They're gonna be using bathrooms together. There's gonna be all types of stuff that's gonna happen in regards to potential unintended consequences, and you're gonna open up a whole nother can of worms. A can of worms that already is opened up. I mean, to be quite honest with you. I mean, we've seen this stuff and how it plays out. But yeah, again, that's the type of world that these people want to live in. Instead of just organizing society around sex and just saying, look, I get that you want to identify the way that you want to identify, but because we organize society around sex for a good reason, we've done this since the beginning of human history, you have to have your original biological sex on your identifying documents, and that's just what it is, period.